All right, we'd like to go ahead and, I don't think my microphone is on, I guess now it is. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone that's with us today. I'm not sure who's in the other room, but anyways, welcome. Thank you for being with us today. As you can see, we're adhering to the governor's orders in terms of distance and facial coverings, except for myself, because I'm talking into the microphone, want to make sure that everybody hears what I have to say. So again, thank you for being with us today, and you have before you the adoption of the agenda. If there's no changes, I'll entertain a motion for that, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, before we move on to the, the approval of the, well, let's go ahead and approve the minutes. Before you, you have the September 24th, 2020 authority meeting minutes that you were provided. If there's no changes or anything that needs to be corrected, we'll entertain a motion to adopt those as well.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And before we move on to our regular business, I'd just like to take a moment out to I guess it's a bittersweet type of day, because today is Glenn Hargett's last day, or last meeting with the TDA, and I just personally wanted to take time out to thank Glenn and to wish him well in his new endeavors, but you have been such an instrument of growth in our city that it's definitely bittersweet today. And I can say that having served with you for 15 years has truly been an honor, particularly to share in your passion for this city and all the things that you've been involved with for so many years. To include the development of the TDA, all your efforts in building the legislation to be able to create this organization and its success. We've been doing this now for quite a bit of time, Glenn, and this is your baby, as they say, and you have left an incredible legacy here at the city of Jacksonville, not only for the TDA, the Sports Commission, and so many other things, the media, your media staff, and what you've done here is just, honestly, it's talked about across the state. We probably have, I was having a conversation with someone not long ago about transparency and how they'd like to see more governments work on transparency, and we're probably one of the earliest adopters of full transparency of any government in North Carolina. I may be wrong, but I think we're right up there at the top, where everything that we as council members have done, be it meetings, be it workshops, other than closed sessions, everything is televised for our citizens to be able to view from the comfort of their home. And Glenn, that's you and your team. All the activities that we have outside of City Hall that you televise, that you make happen in a real way, not just in a mediocre way, but in a very clear and just professional fashion. So today it's with heartfelt emotion that we say thank you for your contributions to the city of Jacksonville, and particularly today to the TDA and what you've done to bring us to where we are today. So if we can give Glenn a round of applause. Well, you deserve it.
It's been a team effort, and as part of my work, and as Randy and Ken and others that grew up, I mean, telling the story of your community is an honor and a privilege to be able to do. And to share that with people that we want to come and stay in these hotel rooms and to participate in our travel and tourism is just wonderful. And the fact that we've had an impact has been great. But the credit doesn't all go to me. We have an incredible team of people who have helped to tell us that story and have helped facilitate that. And that I hope they all stay around and help continue to do that as it was.
Well, another interesting comment is you've pioneered or helped us pioneer the manner in which the story is told or has been told. In a new dynamic world of communication and the shift between paper and print to digital marketing, you were able to certainly lead us in that technology to ensure that we use the most current method of achieving that. And which is difficult for some of us older people to grasp and understand at times, but it certainly has brought us it's brought us a lot of successes. So thank you, and you will be sorely missed for sure. So again,
It's
thank you.
8 miles away.
Thank you.
Well
Any,
said.
any comments?
Well said.
Said it all.
Thank you.
Yeah, pretty much. I just want to say one
Absolutely.
thing. Glenn, you know, I've known you 28 plus years. When I was on the Board of Commissioners, and before then, you were instrumental in bringing Jacksonville its first All-American city. I will never forget you for that, and I had to mention that because it was such an achievement for Jacksonville, and you're just going to be missed. We appreciate how you've informed us and kept us on top of everything. And our chairman is right. Some of us old school people had to be brought forward. I'm still in the carbon paper. So that's how old school I am. And I really feel, you know, you brought us into the millennial and the technology age. And for that, I appreciate you and your friendship. Thank you.
Here to serve.
Thank you. Okay, getting into business, we'll look at item number 5, our annual financial report. Glenn, I'll turn it over to you or to Gail to lead us into that discussion, please. Gail?
Afternoon. Our auditor, April Adams, is with us to give a virtual report on the TDA's audit. She is with the firm, she's a partner with the firm Cherry Becker. This will be her second year. Most of you probably remember her from last year, and she's gonna give us a report.
Thank you. Or you might remember me from Tuesday if you were at the city board meeting. Some of you were so lucky to get the presentation twice. So anyways, I am happy to be here, and thank you for allowing me to be here virtually with you guys. This allows me to say that we did the audit completely 100% remote because I'm remote, even just giving the presentation. But anyways, let me move on to the first slide for the agenda there. Let me show you what I want to cover with you this afternoon. First, I just want to cover what the role of the external auditor is, and then walk you through briefly what we do when it comes to internal controls and identify the significant audit areas. And then I'll let you know what the audit results were, and then I'll go over some very high financials, and then I'll do a quick summary of what you should take away from the presentation, and then I'll be glad to take any questions or comments. All right, so the role of the external auditor, we did perform your audit in accordance with the generally accepted auditing standards of the United States. Any entity that gets an audit gets them done under those audit standards. What they require is for us to plan and perform procedures to obtain reasonable assurance that your financial statements are free from material misstatement. And I just bring that to your attention because what that means is that we do a risk-based audit and we focus our procedures looking for where your financial statements are most likely to be or most susceptible to be materially misstated. So that also means that we did not come in and test every single transaction that happens throughout the year. Once we've performed our procedures, we are required to express an opinion on those financial statements. So we were able to do that, and I'll give you the results in a little bit. And then the audit standards also require us to communicate certain things to you. So we do that in 2 ways. We do it through this presentation today, as well as a letter that accompanies your financial statements. And the types of things that we're required to communicate to you is if there were significant policy changes throughout the year. It identifies what the estimates are in your financial statements. And then if there were any audit adjustments identified during the audit, then it would point those out as well. So the next slide covers internal controls. So while we don't opine on internal controls as a part of our audit, we are required under those audit standards to do some procedures around internal controls. And so we do that for the TDA's audit. We've moved too far. We're still talking about internal controls. So we do this, a lot of these internal control reviews in conjunction with the city's audit, because you've got the same control structure environment for the TDA as well as the city. So we did identify the significant transaction cycles. We did a walkthrough of those, and then we decided to test on them as we deemed efficient audit procedures. For specific to the TDA, though, we did get all the journal entries that got posted for the year and mined those for some unusual transactions, pulled the journal entry and the supporting documentation and looked for, does the business purpose make sense? Does the accounts used make sense? And, was it properly approved? And then, again, the IT controls we did in conjunction with the city's audit, but we're looking at what are the safeguards in place over that financial system? Who's allowed access to it? Do they have passwords? Those types of things. All right, so now we can move on to the significant audit areas. So as I mentioned, we do a risk-based audit. So that means that we identify in our judgment what the significant audit areas are. And then from there, we assess how much they're subject to those material misstatements that we're looking for. And then we spend a lot of time testing those substantively. So we're either confirming them with third parties or testing the analytics of the relationships of the numbers, or we're digging in and doing a test of details, testing the actual transactions that support the numbers. And now we'll move on to the audit results. So I am happy to report that we did issue an unmodified opinion. I know that you're probably thinking that doesn't sound great, but that's the opinion you want. It's also known as a clean opinion, and it is the highest level of assurance that we can give you that your financial statements are free from material misstatement. So that is the best result that you can get. There were no internal control findings. I didn't include that here on the slide, but you would have been made aware of those as a result of the city audit, because they would have been the same, because the control environment's the same. And then finally, the required communications. This is that letter I told you about. I'll spare you the reading of it. There were no significant accounting policy changes during the year. You don't have any significant estimates related to the TDA, other than the fact that your allowance for doubtful accounts is 0 because you expect to receive all payments from the city. And then no journal entries were identified as a result of the audit. And that just tells you that you're properly capturing all the transactions and reporting the data appropriately. All right, now I'll move on to the financial results. So you guys do set the board sets a budget for the TDA. Hang on one second, I've got a notification pop up, can't see the screen. The revenues did beat the budget set by $127,500, and I'll highlight that that's pretty impressive, because you guys have got hit pretty hard by the effects of COVID during your fiscal year. You had a great start because of Hurricane Florence. You had a lot of people staying in hotels in early fiscal year 2020, and then you had a bad last 3 months. So I think they offset each other and allowed you to be right there at budget for revenues. And your expenditures were under budget by $328,000, and that's just due to because there were cancel events. You just ended up spending less money. I will say in the final budget, the board did appropriate the use of a whopping $6,000 of fund balance, but actually the results ended up where you didn't use any fund balance. You actually added back about $450,000 from the results of the revenues and expenses, how they actually turned out in actual numbers. All right, let's move on to the next slide. So this is just giving you a snapshot of what the fund balance makeup is for the TDA. You'll see that there was an increase during the year of about $400,000. You'll see that really the biggest impact there was to your unassigned fund balance. And so that's just because your revenues were greater than expenses. So it all went to your unassigned because the other categories didn't change. All right, and then this is just high-level financial statement changes current year to prior year. Your cash did decrease $391,000 from the prior year. I know that that doesn't sound great, but you do still have plenty of a healthy cash balance of 3.2 million at the end of June 30. Your accounts receivable decreased 62,000. This is simply a factor of the revenues were down at year end, so the receivable for the prior month's collections were down. Your accounts payable decreased about 900,000 from the prior year. It's just simply because there were no events going on at year end. The occupancy tax itself decreased the revenue 435,000, which is mostly a result of the last 3 months of the year performance. And then your expenses decreased 114,000, and that's just because the events didn't take place the last couple months of the year. All right, so next slide. In summary, again, you received a clean opinion. No journal entries identified as a result of the audit. There's good internal controls in place. No significant deficiencies were identified. And again, we got full cooperation from management, and we really appreciate it, especially in this year as we work to figure out how to carry out the audit 100% remotely. So we just really appreciate Gail and her team working with us to achieve that, to be here today to give you timely results. And now I'll be glad to take any questions or comments.
Okay, thank you very much for that presentation. Any questions? Any comments? Thank you so much for joining us today. Do we need to adopt or accept the annual financial audit report?
I move we accept the report as given to us.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you so much for being with us today.
I'd like to thank Gail and her staff.
Absolutely.
Because without their guidance, we'd be spending.
Well, and let it be noted that under my leadership, we have 3.2 in the bank. Let's make a record of that. Thank you very much, Gail. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to strategic work of the authority. The first order of business, some old business regarding the Vietnam Visitor Center, which we have no updated information to pass on, but Mrs. Walker would like to address us in regards to some Vietnam Veterans Memorial issues. Thank you for being with us, Pat. The floor is yours.
What I wanted to let everybody know, we are still having issues at the memorial. About a month ago, I don't know how many of you have heard, but somebody poured soap into the fountain to create bubbles, and we just had a fun time cleaning up bubbles from all over. Which brought us to the conclusion, we need to put cameras out there. And we need to be watchful of who and what's going on. We've priced cameras. 3 cameras will cost us $1,000 with wiring. Does not include somebody to install and set it up. But we are going to set it up with the idea in mind that the city can tune in at any time to see what's going on, if they want to. And we will be setting it up and giving you a connection to that camera. So it's going to be notable that we're going to get it out there that we have cameras. It's not going to be a deep, dark secret, because I think the more we get the word out that there are cameras watching you, the less vandalism we'll have. Montfort Point is going to follow suit. The other thing I wanted to bring up is the fact that we have been out there cleaning. That white granite is just so tough to clean, but we have over 3/4 of it done, and hopefully within the next week, if the weather holds, we'll get the rest of it done. This year, we always decorate at Christmas with wreaths placed at every glass panel. This year, we are not doing that. We did not have the funds come in to support that endeavor from Wreaths Across America. So what we will be having is honorees at the signature wall in front, one for each branch of the service. The wreath situation is way down, but on the other hand, we will have people there to place the wreaths on the graves. We have 2 lists. We have some that are specified for certain graves. We have others that are just more or less anywhere we want to put them. So we will have 2 groups doing this, but the memorial this year will not have the wreaths. They will just have the ones at the signature wall. And if anybody has any questions, I'll try to answer them.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, did I hear you say that Montford Point Association was filing a suit?
They're going to look into putting cameras out there also.
Okay. And the second thing is, how many panels are we talking about around the Vietnam Memorial?
224.
Ooh.
There's a lot of panels out there.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for the update. And I guess we would encourage that anyone out there that would like to donate for the wreaths, to contact you, whether it's an individual or business that would like to donate, they can contact you. Is that
Right, the
correct?
cutoff date is the 27th. Anything after that goes for next year.
Okay. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Okay, next order of business is going to be item number 7, our Tourism Development Fund, Promotion of Strategic Initiatives. We have Teresa Beecham with us today to go through that. Please take your time. How are you, Teresa?
Y'all.
Good. Thank you
Good.
for being with us.
Get caught up here.
It's okay. Take your time.
Thank you. So we have been quite busy. While some things aren't happening, other things are happening behind the scenes. And I'm just going to go over a couple of items that we have been working on to bring you up to speed. We hosted, Susan put us in touch with, she found actually Matt Meltzer, who is a freelance travel writer. He is he has national placements. So most recently, he was in Thrillist and Travel and Leisure. Susan found out, a neat little nugget, is he was actually a former Marine. And she was having a hard time getting him here, and then he, started talking to her. So she found out he was a Marine and came through here for training 30 years ago. And he actually had a picture in his office when she did a Zoom meeting of General Gray. And he said that he was his most revered Marine. So that was kind of a cool connection with him. So we were anxious to host him and see what he thought, having been here 25, 30 years ago, to what he has to say now. So he was, enamored with everything, all the growth and everything that's happened. 2 big highlights from him were the Lejeune Memorial Gardens was his #1 highlight. He went out. Did I do that or did you do that? Oh, okay, good. We had Houston and Mr. Spencer came out and met him, and I bet he spent 45 minutes with them just getting the story. He loved it. When he was a Marine, he did not hear the story of Montford Point, so it was interesting to him. The second thing that he was excited about was actually Swansboro. When he was stationed here, he never went to Swansboro. It was one of the questions I asked him. He'd never been. He was a young guy, Swansboro wasn't a big attraction to him, but now he loves it. So he is, Salem and Susan worked on a story with him all weekend, and potentially we have a placement coming at his former job was with Matador Network, which is one of the biggest online travel sites that they're in the country. So he's pitching them under Coolest Towns in America. So we hope that happens. That'd be great for the community. So the next thing is, we've talked about several, last couple meetings of this Visit and See state got some grant money, and they filtered that down and shared with the DMOs that qualified. And just a reminder, this is nothing, doesn't cost us anything, but we were awarded $50,000 and the county was awarded $100,000.
In credits.
In credits, yes, thank you. So we worked together to, we're buying some programs, they're doing some programs, applying our grants that way. And this gave us the opportunity to do some things that we haven't done before. So we've always wanted to reach out to, for instance, to Ohio. And we know that there's a large concentration of Marines that are from a handful of states, Ohio being one of them. So it probably would not be priority for us to spend your budget there, but given the opportunity, we said, well, let's try it and see what happens. And we will be able to tell in the end with the analytics if we had some traction on that. So that'll be nice to know. One of the programs we did, the first thing we did was paid social ads. And that is running now for the month of November. And the message is basically you can enjoy the water and the weather here year round. So that will run in Raleigh, Cleveland, and Columbus. We were only able to pick 3 markets to run in. So the next program we did, Kevin's not keeping up with me. Why has he got that on there? He's messing with me. We did a program with AARP with their website. And their website is tremendous in size. So it's a national site, and we were able to get 5 cities, and they tell you what cities, or 5 states, I'm sorry. So we are running Live Like a Hero. I really wish we had the, we're running an ad with Bayonet Cruises that says Live Like a Hero. And the next 2 sizes of ads say play like a hero. So it's tying our brand into, and giving them some exposure. So we used a Bayonet Cruises, a biking photo, and a kayak photo. Here.
You might have the one from my house, because it works that way too.
Okay, we're officially dead in the water.
This is just showing you guys how much work we did last year on all this. Thank you, Kevin. So another program we did was local market combo. It's the only print ad that we did. And this was in northern markets in Cleveland, Columbus, Nashville, Pittsburgh, and Richmond. And we ran an ad for, on the Bayonet Cruise, promoting the river. And the headline, since it runs in December, is What Fun It Is to Ride. So, and it drives traffic to the website. So just, you know, our hope is that we find out that we reach people that are familiar with Onslow County and Jacksonville, maybe because they've heard of Camp Lejeune. So we can encourage some visitation from that. The next, we did 2 more programs. One is with Cox Digital. And Cox owns a big cable company, but they do a program, it's called OTT and CTV, and that is connected TV, and OTT stands for over the top. And basically what this is it's for the cord cutters, they call them, people that are not using cable anymore, which is a tremendous amount of people. So it reaches people through their smart TVs, through their streaming apps, Apple TV, Roku. We have 2 commercial, oh, good. We put 2 commercials together with 2 different messages, and I believe Kevin is going to play them for us here.
This is the undiscovered Jacksonville on the breathtaking central coast of North Carolina, an untapped outdoor playground on the New River just minutes away from the beach. Here, you'll enjoy family fishing adventures with an expert guide, or just reeling in some magical memories and tall tales. The early bird gets the spectacular sunrise, so plan your family vacation to the undiscovered Jacksonville today at visitjacksonvillenc.com. Jacksonville, North Carolina. Discovery awaits.
Ooh, I like that. Good.
I wonder if he's playing the second ad, maybe not. So we ran a second ad as well, and thank you to Salem, who she'll tell you, I don't want to steal her thunder, she had some additional funding awarded to her credits. And so we're sharing a couple of photo shoots with her. So that footage came from a photo shoot that we've already done, and we have our second one tomorrow. And so all of this is creating additional awareness for Jacksonville and Onslow County. So the last program that we're doing is with a company called Miles Support Program. And what we're going to do is, we know that nothing is more at risk through this whole year than our small businesses. And this was designed for us to help our small businesses, but also help tourism. We can literally transform, is our goal, the presence of Jacksonville, Onslow County, and our small businesses. What people are looking for right now is they want a safe place to travel, their health is a concern, but they still want to travel. So for the first few months of the year, that's what they're looking for when they're choosing a destination. What we will do is, they've done this program before, and they will train us, your staff. We've already had a couple of meetings, and we will do several more, and they are currently assessing over 100 of our local hotels, restaurants, attractions, and tourism partners. So they will assess everything from the basic presence on website. Are your hours correct? Is your address showing wrong? Is the PIN wrong on Google Map? All the way to, do you have COVID updates on your site? And, are you talking about it? So we'll get that back, and should have that back in a couple of weeks. And then we'll go through some continuous training or 2 more training sessions. Then we're responsible for passing that information and training along to those businesses. So we will be completely educated on how to do all this. Technically, they have to do it, but we can guide them on how to do it. So if they're concerned about it and they want to get it right, we can help them do that. So it really puts us in a position of not only showcasing Jacksonville and Onslow County, but it puts us in a good position with those small businesses as an active, caring tourism, and here's what we're doing for you specific. So that wraps up for our marketing program that we're working on. And we wanted to give a quick recap on our Veterans Tribute Weekend. A lot of it, as you know, we couldn't have. The parade was canceled, our afternoon events were canceled. The ceremony was virtual. They had to go virtual with that. So we were trying to think of a couple of ways to keep it going after the momentum from last year. So we came up with creating a Veterans Walk of Honor. And with our our media partners, we solicited for people just to nominate their hero, and it was a quick vetting process if they really were a veteran. And thank you to Kim for these beautifully designed signs that we could put in the gardens. So we, at the same time, were encouraging people to see those. We had 2 signups for tours of the gardens. And what we know is people love the gardens. I live close to here, so I go by there a lot. And I never go by there and there's not somebody there. That day, there was a lot of traffic. A lot of people were interested. So we did the morning tour. We were not able to do the afternoon because of weather. So we look forward to incorporating that next year and watching it grow with the Walk of Honor as well as the tours. So, as an events update, we only have one quick thing to mention. As you know, our events haven't happened. Fashion Week was proceeding on and had precautions in place, but with the uptick in the numbers, she and the hotel both decided it was best to move the event. And everybody that she worked with, the celebrities that were promoting it, were very accommodating. And so she has selected to move this to January, to the end of January. So we're hopeful that numbers start to decline and that she can have her event. And I think that wraps it.
Thank you, Teresa. That was a very good update.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Good job.
Just to show, this involved a lot of your staff, the city staff and things to make this happen as it was. But with our help that we have from Teresa and Susan, and particularly Miss Teresa here on the ground for this part, they help provide some of those coordinations. And notice what we said about that miles deal. This is important. I mean, that is really training your staff to be even more deeply involved in some of the ways that you can do things through Google and through some of those programs to help small businesses. And I think this will be part of a legacy that'll really live on for a while here on that part. It will get out of date, but you know, that's the part is to say is that you keep updating this so that you have something to make sure something happens.
And another good thing is if there's, you know, new businesses that come in or partners that we didn't include that we want to include, other businesses, we can we've talked about doing a quarterly schedule and doing an assessment ourselves and educating them and making sure that they have the opportunity to participate as well.
I think the allure of saying, if you come to this, we're going to help you get your word out to those who are traveling here. You know, you build your own local reputations, obviously.
Yeah.
This is really helping so when they come to the front desk of Chris's, establishment, it's not the first time, hopefully, they will have heard of, some of these restaurants, some of these dining experiences that are out there.
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 8, budget preparation.
This will be fast, but it's important, and so this is the meeting at which you generally start the planning for your budget and what to do for next year. And it helps us in preparing. As you know, we end up having to buy programs in the case of Visit NC early into the year, and then they're not going to take effect until the following year. So hearing your input at this time is really valuable to that point. So I want to talk about that this is the same exact slide I showed you for the last 2 years, but it's important to say that we do have a diminishing promotion fund balance. Now, you saw from the audit in there, and Gail Mades and I she had a conversation about, she was wanting her to talk about pink money and green money. So you really got to see the difference in it because they are two different pots of money that we have to keep separate and spend separately in there as it was. But at the end of the day, we have not used any of we have not exceeded any of your budgeted amounts for what you have for bringing forth fund balance. If anything, we've used rather, small amounts of it by comparison as it was. And we are trying to use these times, this will be the 3rd year that we're trying to diminish some of those dependencies that we have had on our pink money. So we've brought them down, we've made some changes, and some programs have gone away, and some, we've continued to add in there that we think have value. And the highest priority, agreed among your staff and others, are the strategic initiatives. We believe they hold the greatest value to you for the future of what's out there, and they're sustainable as it was too. And we're going to go over those. And then, of course, partner support, like the Sports Commission. I no-brainer about the return of investment that gets spent on the Sports Commission and what it produces in overnight stays. And then, of course, we want your direction on what you're seeing as trends. Who could have seen that COVID was going to have the year that it was? But, we've gotten through this, or we're into this, let's put it that way, and we've at least been able to weather the storm as much as possible as it was. So to that, in the Tourism Promotion Fund, which is what we started, back in 2012, when we actually were looking for things to spend the money on at 2011. And so we have now come up with these same 4 categories, and they're basically overnight stays that are an obvious result of TDA funding. Incubation continues, but overnight stays are not as produced yet as they could be. And then community benefit, where it's really something that has more benefit to the locals than it does to traveling, but there's some overnight stays that happen. And the last one is there's community benefit. While there's low overnight stays, there is huge promotional value from it. And the example that we like to use with that is Winterfest. We get very few overnight stays as a result of Winterfest, and probably none this coming year because it's mostly the vendors and things of that nature that come to be a part of that. And the artisan market. I don't know why I want to make them big whales, but to the point is that it has such promotional value of those scenes of Christmas in our community that we were able to push out to others, and not having some sort of focus for that really leaves it up to look at other commercial activities or things that are not as well done around the community to push out as it was. So in the matter of looking directly at the, don't know why the table didn't come up, but anyway, but what this chart would have shown you had it worked there is that we are proposing to spend only $70,000 for the Tourism Promotion Fund for the next fiscal year 22. That is a look that's out there. And you will note that in fiscal year 19, we were doing $125,000. Now, it had been higher than that prior to that, but we had some natural, fall off and some other things that happened in there. Now, toward the end of that, oh, it did come up, good. Operator error. So here of the matter now is that 9 events would be continued to be funded on this. I did note in this one where we tell you that we moved the National Night Out events connected. They're part of the Sports Development Fund because it was running with the law. It's logic that it be there. And Bridal Expo, which we know produces business into the future, it produces very little overnight stay, on the day they have it, but it produces this huge benefit to our hospitality community into the future. So it's kind of a no-brainer there on that one. And then we are holding $5,000 in reserve. And then the support and administration is at $20,300, and that's down $10,800 from the current year as it was. And that has to do with, percentages and things such as that. And then the $93,000 would be what we would be spending from that effort in the matter. So for for the visitor experience, these are the signs that you'll remember that when you met in May and we met in July, this was the number that they asked to be set aside. And since that's come up so close to the fiscal year and COVID-19, we would just put that same number back in as a hold. And if it's been spent this year, obviously that number would go away. So just as a point of saying, should it not be spent and it would be needed to be carried over, you would put it here in this spot. And then here are what many of us prize as the strategic initiative projects. The reunion project, which you asked to have put on hold until we can further investigate that. And then the sports development project, which has allowed them to significantly increase the amount of overnight stays that they're producing through new events. Now, of course, this year it got blown up. You couldn't have many of the events, but we know that it works and it's out there to make something happen. And it gave them the staff to do that with. And then the docent project, well, you saw that with what Sandy Crane did. We've not had to spend a lot of money on that at all, but I mean, some development materials and things such as that. But we want you to hold $4,000 in there should we need to hire someone that would coordinate some of that project and do things such as that. With the tours, it's still at $6,000. That's for the same reason about that as it was. And then tour development, this was the tour development of the base. We are seeing some loosening of some matters that we might be able to get on the base in a way. And so I don't know that that's going to happen in FY22 or what, but I think that this would just be a place to keep that happening. And when it was time to come into fruition, this would be a place where you could start that conversation. The business meeting development, if you remember, what we have is a software package. And then we have people who were out actually selling and creating materials to advance the use of the hotels that have rental spaces for business meetings and things such as that. And obviously like Sturgeon City that is, was new to the picture here as it was. This is where we fund the engaged Onslow Bridal Expo. And of course, you were very much in support of the Arts Council development, and this would propose, should you wish to do, this would be the 3rd year of that project as it was. And hopefully you've liked the little bulldogs who've seen out front here, and we've got more that's coming. And so there was a story in the Daily News today that are in the digital edition of the Daily News today. They'll be in the print edition sometime later about several other of the bulldogs that have been acquired and put out. And hopefully y'all saw the little map that Kim Tillman did where you can now visit Jacksonville and you can go see them on a tour. So then go from that point. And toward the end of that, it's not just to provide support to the Arts Council, it's really to try to help them have a more stable income from the sale of these dogs, and that they can have more arts-related travel, because they know that, particularly in the military project that they have across the street, they're getting people coming in to see how they have made that connection to the military and arts as part of the PTSD work through, and the therapists that they have with them and such there. It is an impressive operation that they have, and they're getting national recognition for it. And of course, we want to push them out beyond the door. We want the show have the arts block activity and have activities like that let our community show pride, because many of you have talked about, when you've talked to tourism people or you've seen tourism in other places, the arts are an important lure for people to come and see a community as it was too. So to the strategic implementation, obviously we have to have some help, and that's, by Mark in the form of Teresa Beecham and Susan Dozer, DK Communications. So they act as an extension of staff, because we can't do it by ourselves, and clearly I think you've seen the benefit of that as it was. We have done very well with these media invites and familiarization tours. That produces, I've heard someone talk about, why do we pay people to come here, and to see our stuff and take pictures? Well, what they do with after they leave here is what's the important, that they post to their Instagram, that they post to their Facebook, that they use those means, as Matt Metzger, he's getting us in the list of, coolest towns in America. That's the production that comes from this amount of money there. And I will just say, that amount of money right there would get you about 1.5 pages in our state. Our state has about 60,000, isn't it, about that circulation now? So, I mean, we can get a far better reach, by doing things like this. We're still gonna have to do our state and some stuff like that, but when you look at how the return on that investment is, this is really pouring out. And then we want to continue to improve the website. You cannot let that get stale. You cannot. And with the help particularly of some of Teresa's connections there, we have been able to look for optimizations. We've been able to look for ways in which to make it more appealing and to stay fresh and clean as it was too. And then the meeting space optimization, that's part of that software package that's out there. And the email subscription program, we had a couple of our tourism promotion fund entities that were out there creating email list and to market, and it was being siloed. And we thought, well, we're paying them to do this. We need to make sure that we have some control over those lists, and that so we can share this information. And so we are now this will be the second year that we're the subscription holder of the subscription for that, so that we can maintain that. And there's all sorts of releases when they sign up to do that type of thing. We use constant contact, so I mean, that's what that works out to be. They're very good at doing
Excuse me,
this
Glenn,
stuff.
what, on the line item with the media invites, what is the plus 3,000?
We actually added $3,000 to that. I'm sorry I didn't mention that. This line item, we found that we could have done a little more if we'd had a little more money, and this year, particularly with COVID and things such as that, and the year before when we actually were really bringing some people in, having a little more money in that line would do that. We pay for meals, we pay for overnight stays. We don't ask our tourism partners to give us free rooms, because we want that percentage off them. And so I mean, we pay for the bayonet cruises and all of those type of things that are out there.
So previously it was 8 and now you're
Correct.
doing less.
And we skated close to that line.
Okay.
So we thought that was a place to put it up. All right. And please stop me as I go on. I'm trying to be mindful of your time. So the Sports Development Fund, we've talked about that. That's to give them a pot of money that they can go out when they need to do bids on a project. This is another thing that I know all of you all know it, but to say it for our listening and viewing public, there are sports events that you have to bid on to get to come to your community, and that you've got to bid out somebody else on the matter, or pay an upfront fee to get those in, because you're going to get it back in what they pay in occupancy tax, and that's a great benefit. As Chris knows, he knows when there's a sporting event that's in the community that he feels the impact of that as it was, and that's important to do that as it was. Partner support is that the Sturgis City and the Sports Commission. And then the special events reserve, we just put that in there. This is part of the money tucked aside should you need that as it goes along. Advertising and branding is our general projects that we do to advance just things that come up, things that we buy every year, those type of things as it is. And then, of course, the state regional partnerships, This was something the chairman really, when he came back from some of his league, wanted to make sure we were partnering with Visit NC, and we have done that ever since then, and we have found it to be a great partnership, and it's very beneficial. We also have a partnership with Coast Host, and we have some other regional partnerships, even those that we do with the chamber's allocation of the county money, where we're able to match money, throw some money in the pot and work out something. We used, out of this line item, we used some of that for our COVID, what's the cleanup program? We've all forgotten, the recovery program. We actually used some of that money for that, right out of that as well. So then, this is the end of it. We used your same numbers that were used for FY '21. So these are not changed from that, except for the matters there of the, of what would be for promotion and that. Actually, another area, Gail, I'm sorry. We've taken down the reserve number to take from reserve, it'd be around $300,000. This is what it says FY '21 up there. Anyway, so this is what you had for FY '21, and we would think, it would be around 350, somewhere in that range there, that we would limit that to at the time. So now's the time for you folks to tell us, what are your priorities that we haven't mentioned? Is there anything about implementation that you want to see that's, that's given as instruction for high priority? And then if there's anything special that you want us to work on to have prepared for your budget when it is presented to you for adoption?
I have a comment on, excuse me, your proposed budget of $5,000 for special events assistance. How much have we used each year in that area?
I would say we haven't dipped into it for several years.
Okay, because I was going to propose increasing that, but if it's,
No, that was, if you recall, well, shortly after we started that, things would come up all of a sudden.
right.
And, so we had a line out for it.
That's what I remember.
Gail, can you remember us tapping that line? I can't either.
Okay, that's fine.
Any other questions or comments?
I don't have any.
I mean, obviously, the plan that you have before us is all contingent upon what takes place in the future and whether events are able to be had or not. So obviously, if there's no expenditures, that money will be retained in those accounts. So I have no issues with what you've presented us today.
You need a motion?
Well, I think
don't
your
think you need
consensus
it. You
is
just
here.
a
This isn't for you
consensus.
to adopt it at
Yeah,
all.
it'll come back for adoption in budget.
And you'll have time to fix it again,
Yeah.
to say we want to manipulate it again, or whatever.
But I think the categories that you've provided for us today is adequate for this time frame. So.
One question before we move on. With the state partnerships and that additional 5,000, was that in anticipation of something specific or that you've
Yes,
just found?
remember that clean program that what they did? Oh, wait, ask your question again.
That with the state partnerships, wasn't, I think it was an increase of 5,000.
Well, we've skated to this combines the Coast Host and the state, plus we have some other programs that have come up, and so we did add a little bit of money in there. We rounded out, but that's the same thing we did in your current year's budget. We put $5,000 in it for your current year's budget that you adopted, for should something come up in those regional or state partnerships.
Okay,
Let
thank
me
you.
make sure I'm reading this correctly for my own use. Down on the green money, we took in 632,000, and so we have 382,000 unallocated, which goes to the fund. Is that correct?
That's correct, and the legislation, Gail and I were talking about this, it says you must spend that on tourism-related expenditures.
Exactly.
You also have the other money that she showed that was your balance up there, because
Right.
some of that fund balance is this number. I would say the largest portion of your $3 million is this. Do you disagree, Gail?
The largest amount is green money.
Yes. We have pink money left over. It's about 1 million or so in pink money that has been accrued over the times.
Right.
Some of it from fund balance, just returning back to it, and
How
that's
much
the
in green
principle.
money?
I think of that $3 million that they speak of, about 2 million.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, you have your consensus? Okay, we'll wait for Paula to come in, get our Sturgeon City update. Thank you for joining us, Paula.
Chairman and authority members, for having me and allowing me to share an update. I will try to keep this brief. I did actually put together just a couple quick slides today to let you guys know what we've been up to at Sturgeon City. So just a quick rundown. I've spoken a couple times about how we're still doing some programs. Obviously, we still have some students on site on their virtual learning days. That's much more limited now, as most of the kindergarten through 5th grade students are now back in school 4 days a week. But we do still have upwards of about 20 students on site every Wednesday, and that will continue now through the month of December, at least at this point in time. So we are serving those students, and then we've developed some additional special programs. We run a kids bingo program once a month on a Friday night. Typically have about 15 to 20 students that participate in that. We have started back up our Teen Science Cafe, which is aimed at 11 to 17-year-olds, helping introduce them to science professionals in the area, in the region. And we have about 30 students that attend that once a month, every month. And we have a kids' night out, which is for parents to drop off their children and go be able to have a dinner out and that sort of thing. We provide pizza and activities. We have similarly about 15 or 20 kids that participate in that once a month. We started back up our pre-K Little Learners program. We're doing that twice a month. And we usually have between 5 and 10 students. That's typically 3 and 4-year-olds, sometimes even 2-year-olds if siblings attend. And we're still running our homeschool science program, which has continued to grow. That's in its, I think, 4th or 5th year total. That's every Thursday. And we actually have upwards of about 30 to 40 students each week. We've seen significant growth in our older student age group, which is the 9 to 13-year-olds. So we're excited that we're being able to serve some of those folks in those upper age groups. We've developed some additional special programs. Some of you might know that the Friday before Halloween, we had a spectacular science community program that was for families to attend. And we put together several different hands-on stations with Halloween types of themes that were science related. And we had Possumwood Acres also join us with some live animals. We had about 200 folks that came out that night in timed shifts, all wearing masks to help follow guidelines age appropriately to attend. And so because that was so successful, we're going to be hosting something similar for December. On December 18th, we'll be doing a Winter Wonderland event with a very similar nature, multiple stations. We're going to have the Children's Museum actually come out and join us as a partner in that event as well. And I'm just going to run quickly through a couple of photos from our Spectacular Science program. So this is just a little bit of setup in our lobby. We had several stations throughout the building, again, utilizing all of the great space that we have there. And that one is not showing up. Well, I'm going to click through. There we go. And these decorations, a lot of these pumpkins that were taped onto this tablecloth were actually made by the kids in our academy program. So they got to actually help make some of the decorations that we use. This is our cakewalk station. We also had several local teens that came out and helped to volunteer to run these stations. So it was really just a great community event for us. And we were excited that it was so successful. And then just super quickly, some of the more tourism related efforts we've been working on. I think I mentioned at a previous meeting, we were entering into contract directly with Viamark, and we have been working with Teresa, and she has helped us to do some updates to our website thus far, just very basic things, kind of streamlining things, getting all the same color patterns and schemes, and you know, getting a style guide going on there to make it look a little bit nicer and more professional. And we're also working on, she's helping us work on some market research related more directly to the education center, and starting to think about how to target the correct types of groups that might be interested in our facility. And so we're interested to be able to really start to market. As you're aware, we were very lucky that it took off like it did, obviously pre-COVID, really with not much help from us in terms of marketing, but we're ready now to start really looking at those strategized efforts to start bringing folks back into our facility, you know, as we're able going forward. And we've been working a lot with our Facebook page, even like, for example, our Spectacular Science event, where we had, you know, 200 people that joined us from the community. We've been utilizing a lot of our social media to really advertise and also just share other things that we're doing throughout the year. And that's been helping us get a lot of reach within the community. And so we're really excited with how that's going. And we're kind of just, again, we've also kind of got some brain thought from Teresa and the folks at Viamark on that here and there with some insights on what we should do. So we're working on that. And then also, for those of you that are familiar and or have attended things, you know, we have had a few gatherings, some specific gatherings going on at the center as we're able, you know, doing our best to follow the guidelines, you know, for what's going on with COVID. And we're continuing, of course, to work on pushing back events that are interested, as many of you know and are doing. Things were already pushed back and are now getting pushed back again. And so we're just continuing to try to roll with that as much as we can and find the best ways to serve people. But we're lucky we have a pretty large space, so we've been able to accommodate some things here and there that have come up, which has, of course, helped us as well. That is all I've got.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. I'll tell you, it's an amazing center. And every time I go there, just what a wonderful addition to our community, particularly for events. And the way that the walls just sort of make it appropriate in size. And you guys do a great job keeping it clean and neat. So thank you. Any comments for
much.
Paula? Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Paul.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Scott, thank you for joining us.
Always wanted to be John, so I'm just
I
going to
could
stay
see
here.
that you have a lot of resemblance.
I don't know if he's this good looking or not, but thanks for having me. I'll be very brief. So we finally got to have a live event last month. We had our Freddy's Frozen Custard Challenge and 5K. I won't go into again. I told you guys last time how we're going to take all the precautions. And we got rave reviews about that to the point where people say, when COVID's over, can we still do it this way? So I don't know that we want to do it that way because we'll be there all day long, but it was great. Just a few photos to share with you. It was a beautiful morning. We had about 130 register, which was only about 20 less than last year. So that was encouraging. My beautiful wife there in the back right, looking at her watch. You might recognize that guy. He came in first place in his age division. So
That's not is that how many runners? 2, 3?
that was about 2 or 3. Yeah. But no,
I
he
hope
did
he doesn't watch this.
keep up with him. So that was good.
I'm gonna tell him you said
Yeah, I
that.
know, right?
That doesn't apply to me. So again, great volunteers. We partnered with FCA on this and just had a great time with actually getting to have a live event. It was, I mean, it was great just to be able to do that. There's one of our precautions there. Instead of the cones, it was the prepackaged sandwiches and
You have any left?
the gloves and the mask. So it was a great event. We did have some folks that, because they've been looking for live races, they came to town and spent the night in a hotel to come do the Freddy's race. So that was good. Everything is scheduled and planned for 2021, and now we just hold our breath to see what actually happens, what has to get postponed, moved. So we've been working heavily on finalizing all those dates and locations and permits and all those sort of things. Glenn mentioned earlier about keeping your website fresh, even though we redid our website about 2 years ago. We're in the process of doing that again now because you always learn through that process and just keeps it looking so that people say, oh, this is something new. I needed to read all of this. So we've been doing that. And the last thing, I would be remiss if I didn't say, obviously, way before I got here, Glenn was very instrumental in the formation and the success and the creation of the Jacksonville Onslow Sports Commission. But just for me personally, from the time that I was being brought here to interview until today, he's been very instrumental for me, acclimating to the community, making sure I meet the right people, answering hundreds of questions, and just really wanted to make sure that I was successful. And so, Glenn, thank you for that. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you for your continued
Appreciate it.
great work. Salem, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
So on Onslow County tourism side, we've actually have been very busy. as you can see, some of the pictures that are coming up, we have had our travel writers that we had to postpone several times, so they finally came out. So we had our 2 travel writers with us, plus one of our, from our PR firm, one of the representatives that came out with us. So they spent 4 days in the county. We went all over. As they said, I showed them so much. They were ready to go home and take a nap afterwards. I remember I can't remember if I told y'all this the last time I was here, but at the very end on Friday, we were leaving Mike's farm, and I said, well, we're gonna drive back by the Lejeune Memorial Garden, show you it at night, and they were like, that's fine, but do not stop this car again. But they really enjoyed their time, so I'll show you some of the photos.
They earn their money when they're here. So
Yes.
they don't get a break.
So this was us kayaking in Swansboro. Out on a boat tour, we were actually able to go out into the ocean. It was so calm that day, we were able to get out, and that's Bear Island in the background. This was on a shrimp boat, and we actually got to catch some shrimp. They loved it. I have videos of them and me squealing like little girls when they jumped, but it was a lot of fun, and we got to keep the shrimp afterwards.
Ooh, that's good.
And one of our travel writers is actually already creating a story on the shrimping excursion to submit for a magazine. So we're hoping to get a story out of that soon. That's catching a crab there. And again, as we've talked about, Glenn does so much, and we really appreciate him and we'll miss him, but he came out and did a tour of Lejeune Memorial Gardens for our travel writers, which was very, very nice. Let me see, and there's a photo of him with them. They really did enjoy the gardens. Of course, we went horseback riding, which was a lot of fun. Excited to get off the horse after an hour, though. And then one of the projects that Teresa had alluded to earlier, we did receive money from Visidency or from the state to be used towards any project that we wanted to utilize the money towards. It just has to fall within the CARES Act and has to be used by December 30th. So we chose to do a photo and video shoot. So I'll show you some photos that were actually from our first photo shoot, which included the beach and biking and fishing in Jacksonville. So as you saw in the video earlier, this was just some behind the scenes shots from that shoot.
Sunrise fishing.
Yes. Some of our talent on the bike trails and the greenways here in Jacksonville. We got video and photos of people biking and walking. So here's a photo of some of the Parks and Rec folks that we were very excited to have as our talent. And then, of course, I put a lovely photo. I didn't realize it looked like that. It was smaller on my phone. We'll quickly get off that one.
It's okay.
And then this is actually a photo of another travel writer we had into the area that was secured by Visidency, Jancy Dunn. She's a writer with Travel Plus Leisure. So she was doing a trip along the coast of North Carolina, and one of her stops was in Swansboro. So we took her out on a boat tour at Hammocks Beach State Park. She got a tour of the park, and she also ate at Saltwater Grill. We were hoping she'd stay the night, but we ran into some conflicts with it, and she wasn't able to. So it was a little bit shorter trip than we were anticipating. But they loved the trip, and we're hoping to get a story out of that too soon. This was from another photo shoot that we had done. I think I had mentioned earlier that with Visidency for their website, I don't know if you recognize, but Jeff Clark and his wife were our talent for this shoot, but this was at Saltwater Grill. We also did some photos at Mike's Farm. The other half of our photo shoot had to be rescheduled because we were supposed to go out to Bear Island, but it got real windy and cloudy, so we did have to cancel that, and the fact that it wouldn't have been quite as safe on the boat to go out. So another shot. And then as part of the marketing credit program, as Teresa showed earlier with the Cox TV, we also ran a TV ad with them for October. We had to put it together in about a week. So we just kind of took some clips that we could quickly get our hands on for that. But we have our 15-second video for y'all to watch.
This is the undiscovered Jacksonville on the breathtaking central coast of North Carolina, an untapped outdoor playground on the New River just minutes away from the beach. Here, you'll enjoy family fishing adventures with an expert guide.
There's an adventure for everyone at North Carolina's Central Coast in Onslow County, along our sandy beaches and intercoastal waterways. The perfect outdoor playground. Learn more at onlyinonslow.com.
So that's our 15-second video, and then we also had a 30-second that went a little bit into more detail on some of the activities you could do. At first, I was going to say, yes, we stole, no, from Jacksonville, but very excited to have that. I think it'll be great exposure. One of the exciting reports from that is we did receive a visitor guide request, and they specifically said they saw our TV commercial, and that's how they heard about it, one of those videos, yes. So.
Birthday.
Happy birthday,
Oh,
Sam.
well, thank you.
Happy birthday to you.
So.
Working on your birthday, that's dedication.
Of course, and then I'll be heading down later to the beach, which will be fun. I'll celebrate down there and then prep for our 5:30 in the morning photo shoot tomorrow. So. Thank you.
To be talent tomorrow?
Yeah, y'all want to come out and join?
Oh, we're good.
Start without me.
You said talent. I'm not sure it qualifies, so.
But, and I just quickly wanted to give a shout out to all of our hospitality partners, to our hoteliers, our restaurants, and everyone that's been working so hard during COVID, following regulations, updating, trying to stick with everything and keep people safe. I know how hard they work and the long, stressful hours they've had to put in. So just definitely wanted to say thank you to them, because we couldn't do our jobs without all of them. So.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation, and happy birthday. I hope you have a great evening before you have to get up at 5. Thank you again. All right, Gail. I think we're going to go through our first quarter report.
Sorry, I'm getting my last minute instructions here. Apparently the slide got lost for this, but if on page 17 of your book is the quarterly report for the first quarter ending September 30th.
17.
17.
Okay.
You'll see we are right where we ought to be for the revenue. For the first quarter, we're at 33% or $325,000. And for our expenditures, we are less than 33% on all of those. So.
The result of the cancellation of.
Cancellation of
activities.
events, I'm assuming is what that is, yeah.
Okay.
So, at this point, our revenue's $249,000 over our expenditures. Hopefully, we will get to spend some of that money later on some events that will happen. Are there any questions about the quarterly report? Okay.
Great stuff. Thank you. You want to move right into tax collection and the charts?
Sure.
Okay.
This chart shows the year-to-date collections for the same period for each year. As you can see, we're less than last year, but that's to be expected. That was the highest year we've ever had. But we are right along in line with the year before, so we're in good shape. And then this chart depicts the blue line is the current year and the gold line is the prior year. In the prior year, you'll see we had the highest month ever, and this year we've had the lowest month ever. So we're below last year again, but still not in terrible shape. And then this slide gives you by area. Each of the areas is down except for the online. And then there's a slight error there. In the FY20 number, that ought to be 398,000, which would then make it a decrease for the current year to 325.
So the 18.5% is correct.
Yes, it's just the FY20 number it's 2 months instead of 3.
Any other questions?
think that online is something to be interested in, and Chris, perhaps you can say something to us about that, is that I suspect that we're seeing a lot more people use online services than before. Now, some of this online service are for non-traditional hotel rentals, and where we get that, but some of it is also the booking companies, Expedia, help me, some of the others there, that we get the money from them for this, for the hotels that they book, as it was.
More people are using those services because the rates, I mean, I don't know how you all do rates, but I know that rates are quite a bit better through the booking agencies rather than the direct.
Mr. Davis could probably help you with that.
Not always true.
We get a real good rate when we call them.
Right.
I mean, that's what we hear, and
Yeah. And I'll tell you, the online travel agencies have done, over the years, a remarkable job with marketing and that perception. But you're right, a lot of people, I mean, it's their go-to, it's on their phone, and then
convenient.
yes.
You know, a lot of times it's hard to reach the hotel that you're looking for. I'm not sure if you've ever had to search for a hotel and try to call them to book directly. It's not easy to get to that hotel via your phone.
Yeah,
You know, that's
You're right.
just full disclosure.
No,
I don't
you're
know,
right.
you know, how that works, but it points you to an 800 number, or it's very hard to get to that particular hotel to book a room in a particular place.
I agree.
Maybe it's something you all need to talk about within your agencies to figure out how to maybe promote that better.
If you search us, you're going to come up with our number directly and reach our front desk team. Now, a lot of hotels it will just auto-direct to a central booking, be it Marriott, Hilton, it goes to that central reservation booking. And that's an option pretty much for anyone. We choose to take the call
Try
ourselves,
to take it.
to where when we answer the phone, you're speaking to someone at the property.
I have read some trends in the last couple of years, particularly in the last year and a half, maybe two, that people have gotten hip to the fact that if you do book through the third-party sites, Expedia and Hotels.com and such, if you have an issue, it's really hard to get things worked out.
Very hard to get.
So a lot of people are beginning to realize if I book direct through the hotel, I will, be able to handle anything that comes up. And through that process, I have found the same thing that I'm reading is that the prices aren't always that much different. So I always just book, even in their website, I'll book it online, but I go directly to the hotel.
I'm the same way, because I've been in that situation where I booked third party and then there was an issue, you get there, there's no reservation, you can't get up with anybody, it's very inconvenient. But I agree with you, going direct is way better. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much, Gail, for that.
Because the slides are out of order, would it be all right if we do the one city moment before we do the
Sure.
proposed deal there?
Sure.
This is fast, and some of you will have seen this before, but we do want to talk about, we obviously did virtualize the Beirut Memorial Observance, and it was an unusual affair, but we thought it was well received. We did have some people that were at the gardens to view it and they wanted to be there, and so they were, as it was. But this is the president of the Beirut Veterans Association, and he came down here and he helped a great deal with some issues that we had and things as that such. But it was important to do this observance, and it was important to allow that to be happening. As soon as the observance was over, the plaza was reopened, and the people came down there, and it's a powerful
Great
experience,
pictures.
always seeing that as it was there. And obviously, we have our bulldogs out front. You met this fellow last year, and in this room, and he now has a partner out there, and he's now a sailor and of equal rank in the Navy, and they are holding sentinel out at the back door of City Hall, and so that's a really wonderful thing. Kim Tillman of the staff put together a map where you can go out and find the other bulldogs that are in the area, and visit them. And if you still would like one for your business, this is where you call to get that to take place as it was. And that's the one city thing as it was. So just moving along, these are the scheduled dates that you have for the next calendar year. And just to help prepare for future planning, we would just ask you if you would consider adopting these dates. You can always change your dates. Madam Clerk down there can certainly accommodate these, but if they pre-publish them, they allow us just to have some time out into the future and do things such as that.
Any questions on the dates? All right. Thank you, Glenn. All right, director's comments?
Well, okay. Again, you mentioned Glenn earlier. That was great, but I guess it's my first opportunity to congratulate you on your election to the state senate. You're certainly going to be missed. Been around here for quite a while now and seen a lot of changes, and look forward to you helping us out up in Raleigh.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow. Okay, we're gonna miss you too, Mike. You're a class act here. And you were right, you left us with 3.2 million in fund balance. I'm gonna always remember that, or somewhere near that. So that's just a sign of your successful, business acumen, so to speak. And we really appreciate your leadership. And Glenn, I've already said what I had to say about you. You're a dear friend, and I'm gonna miss you. Even though I was a county commissioner, and I understand you're gonna be working for the county, I really wish the city still kept you and everything. So we're gonna miss you, and thank you for your years of service.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Sir?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Obviously, it's been a pleasure serving with you on this authority. I appreciate your leadership and the work that you've put in far before I got here. Glenn, I could go on for 20 minutes, but you're certainly going to be missed, and appreciate everything that you've done.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words.
Well, Mike, we're two of the original members left here,
We are.
and it's amazing how well we've done because we started as an infant. And we really didn't have a script to follow. We made our script as we went along. And through your leadership, we've been able to keep that script. We've already talked about the 3.2 that we have in the bank. It's been a success, and the way that you've handled this organization is a compliment to you and what you're going to be able to do in Raleigh for Onslow and Jones County. But again, I don't know how many people realize how difficult it is to start something up from scratch, which is what we did, and to have your leadership carry us to this point in time to where we've been very successful, not only financially, but we've been very successful in what we've been able to accomplish. And all you need to do is travel around Jacksonville to see those accomplishments. And as a personal note, we had our son-in-law, not a son-in-law, I'm sorry, my wife's brother and his wife, who are natives of Jacksonville, were raised here. And they came to visit us last week, and we gave them a tour of Jacksonville because they hadn't been here in several years. And we took them down to all of the things. And they were absolutely amazed and dumbfounded in how Jacksonville had grown, what Jacksonville had become, and what Jacksonville had to offer. And a lot of those things that we looked at can be contributed to your leadership.
Well, thank
And
you.
for that, we want to be able to present you something that hopefully you'll take to Raleigh. And you will remember us, and we will remember you. On behalf of the organization, I want to present this to you.
Thank you.
Wish you the best in Raleigh, and remind you that our sunset clause expires in 5 years. We're going to be looking to you to extend that. But again, congratulations, and thank you so much for your leadership.
Thank you.
And the way that you've brought us to this point.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, first of all, it's been an honor. I'm going to keep it short. It's just been an honor to work with the whole team throughout all the years, and we all had the same goals. And as public servants, I think the only goal that we ever have is to hopefully leave things a little better than you got them, and that you hope that you have touched that just a little bit, and I hope I've done that, and I'll continue to do that at a different level, and I hope that I could do as well there as maybe I've done here. So thank you so much for the recognition, and I'll be back, as they say. So thank you. Any other business? To adjourn.
So moved?
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you very much.